jump instruction so that
This call is now being recorded.
the program counter will get shifted from this location. Okay, just I'm marking it from this location to this location, or we can say the address of the program counter will get shifted from this particular instruction to this previous instruction. And here we are keeping the program in the loop here unless and until the condition is uh, satisfying. And if the condition is not satisfied, we are skipping the loop and we are moving further. Okay, so here we are using this jump instruction. Now, while using the jump instruction, we are not concerning with the previous address of program counter. Okay, so previous address of program counter, we are not bothering with it. So what does it mean? If suppose the program counter is shifting from this address to this address, then we need not require to save this address location because the program counter is not returning back to this program. Okay. And why it happens? Because here we are branching or we are jumping in the main program itself, or we are shifting in the main program. So it may be backward shift or it may be the forward shift. Hello, am I audible? Okay, so here we are either shifting the program counter from this location either backward or we are shifting it to the forward. Okay, now if suppose we are writing a program, in this program some of the instructions are repeatedly coming. Okay, and we are writing this program these lines somewhere here. And if suppose from this location here we are shifting to this program, then this program is getting executed or these lines are getting executed. And again, we need to return back to this main program. Okay. After that, some of the lines are getting executed. Again, if we want to shift to this subroutine or some these lines which are repeatedly coming, then we are shifting like this. And again, we are returning back to this program. Now, if we compare these two conditions or two scenario, here, when we are shifting in the main program itself, then the program counter address is not required to return back to the main program. Now, here in this main program, here we are shifting to another lines or another subroutine. Okay. And again, we need to return back to this main program. Here, in this case, we need to save or we need to preserve the previous address of program counter. So this program counter is required to be preserved. In this case, here we need to use another instruction that is called as call instruction. So here we require call instruction. So when we execute call instruction, at that time what happens? Here the program counter will get shifted to the uh, new line or new address location. Okay. So here the condition will be, we will write here as PC gets shifted. Okay. And after shifting of the PC, here we need to store the address of next instruction somewhere. Okay. And that location is called as stack. Now here we can say or we say that the role of stack pointer or role of stack in calling the subroutine. Okay. So when the call instruction is getting executed, the program counter is getting shifted or will get loaded with the new address. Okay, so here we will write as new address. The program counter will get loaded with the new address and the next address. That means here, whatever the address location which is available for call instruction, after that, whatever the next address is available, that address is stored on the stack. Now, to store on the stack, what does it means here? It will execute push the data or pushing the data. So the stack point, the data will get loaded on the stack, and after that, the stack pointer will get incremented. And when these all lines are getting executed, or all these lines are getting completely executed, then the program counter or the should return back to the main program. Okay, and that will be done by one more instruction that is called as return. Okay, so in this subroutine, the end of this subroutine should always be given with this return. Okay, so in the main program, we are stopping the program by using end instruction or sjump dollar. Here we need to return back to the main program. So always for the subroutine, last instruction should be returned. And this call instruction and return instruction, these two instructions are working hand in hand. So what does it mean? If we are calling any subroutine, in the subroutine itself, we need to provide the instruction return so that it will return back to the main program. And when it returns back to the main program, at that time, whatever the address location which is stored on the stack, that will be retrieved in the program counter by means of popping the data. So from the stack, here when the call instruction is getting executed, the program counter address after incrementing will get shifted on the stack or pushed on the stack. And when return instruction is getting executed at that time, here the popping process will get executed and program counter will get loaded with the new address. Okay, or the address which is available in the main program. Okay, now there are two call instructions. One call instruction is lcall and another one instruction is acall. So these are the two instructions which are available for branching, okay, or which are concerning with the subroutine. Okay. So to jump from this main program to the subroutine, we need to execute either lcall instruction or acall instruction. Now, what is the meaning of lcall? Lcall means it is long call. So it is 3-byte instruction. So the address of this lcall will have 16 bits. Okay. So it requires 16-bit address. That means the jump or shifting of the program counter will take place within the range of 64K bytes. Okay. And if it is acall, then the range of this acall is 2K. That means here the shifting, it will require 11 bytes. So for acall, the shifting of the program counter will take within the range of 2K only. Okay. That means from this program here, when we shift to the main program, the range should be in between the 64K for lcall and 2K for the absolute call. Okay. And when the program is getting executed or the subroutine is getting completely executed, the program counter will return back to the main program by means of using instruction return. Okay. So here one more instruction is available for branching, that is return. So what is the function of return instruction? The return instruction will shift the program counter from subroutine to the main program. Okay, by loading the program counter with the address which is available on stack. Now, with this return, one more return instruction is also available, and that instruction is called as RETI. Okay, that is called as return from interrupt. Okay, so what is the meaning here? When we are any interrupt is getting generated, then these interrupts are having their vector location. Okay, the meaning of vector location is that in the memory itself, some address locations or some space is provided for particular interrupts. So when the interrupt is getting executed at that time, the program counter will directly get shifted to that particular address location, which is called as vectored address. So it is nothing but a simple call instruction only, but these call instructions are executed or generated when the interrupts are generated. Okay. So when it gets shifted to a specific address that is called as vector location, and when from that vector location, if suppose any subroutine is available, or that is called as interrupt subroutine, service routine is available, then that service routine is executed, and when it returns back to the main program, then that instruction, that shifting of the program counter is done by the instruction RETI, that is return from interrupt. Okay. So we have call instruction, lcall and acall. Similarly, return and return from interrupt. So these are subroutine related or call related instructions which are available in the microcontroller. Okay. Now the question is why these call instructions are available into the microcontroller. Okay, as previously I have told you that if some lines are returning or required again and again in the main program, these lines are written separately and these lines are accessed by the microcontroller or called by the microcontroller whenever it is required. Okay, and that is done by using executing call instruction. For the example, if suppose we have one more instruction, or just we will say a simple program where we require the delay. Okay. And this delay in the main program after execution of few lines. Okay. So for example, if suppose this is the main program, okay, and at a specific location here, we are calling the delay. Okay. Then what will happen? The program counter will shift to this subroutine. Again, it will return back to the main program. After that, again, there is one more delay is required. Then the program counter will again get shifted to the subroutine. Again, it will return back to the main program. If suppose again here one delay is available or required, then the program counter will shift to the subroutine and again return back to the main program. Okay. Now, in this example, here we are taking 3 different delay requirement in the main program. Okay, so it is just like calling functions in the C. So in functions, in C programming, what we are doing, there is a function is available. If that function is required, that function is getting called. Okay, and again it will get returned, or the value will get returned. And again after that, if it is required, again we are calling the function. Okay, similarly here also these subroutines are nothing but the functions or some specific lines which are required again and again, and these are bunched together into the somewhere in the memory location, and these are called again and again. Okay, so here these subroutines are required here also, and here also for 3 different locations. Okay. So to write, in spite of writing these lines again and again here, these lines are written separately. Okay. So we'll take one example. If suppose we want to toggle a port, okay, or we will call it as port programming. Okay. And here, so in this port programming, what we need to do, if suppose I want to make port 1 as high, port 1 will be high for some time. After that, again, port 1 will be low for some time. Okay. And here I want to provide a specific delay. Okay. So while we are providing the delay here, or in such cases, here we need to consider the frequency of microcontroller. Okay. Why? Because when we are executing a specific delay lines, then we need to calculate the time required for the execution of that subroutine or that delay function. And depending upon that, we need to provide the delay. Okay. So this is the so here we will take only a simple process how this delay will get executed. Okay. So initiation of the program will be from org 000000H. After that, let's assume the data in the accumulator as move a comma hash 00H. Okay, now this data I am shifting to the port 1. Now understand here, in this program, here I am giving the data 00 into the accumulator and we are shifting it to the port 1. Now this port 1 is a special function register which is available in the microcontroller. Okay. Already we have seen the special function registers and the memory locations for that particular registers. So here, what will happen? Initially, the data which is available in the port 1 will become 00. Okay. That means the status of the port will be low. Now, after shifting the data to the port 1, what I will do? I will just call a delay. I will write here a call delay. Now, delay is the label provided for the call instruction. So what does it mean? If I'm calling this instruction, we need to provide the address location of that particular subroutine or particular line. Okay. And in spite of providing the address location, we are providing just a label. Okay. Now, as we need to provide the delay, I'm writing here as a call delay. Okay. Now, what will happen? After execution or after shifting 00 to the port 1, the call will get executed. It will shift it to the subroutine. It will execute the subroutine. And again, it will return back to the main program. But while returning back to the main program, it will not again execute this call instruction, but it will execute the next instruction. Why? Because when we are calling this call instruction at that time, the program counter address is first getting incremented and then it is stored on the stack. Okay. So when it returned back to the main program, then the previous address is loaded in the program counter from the stack, okay, or it is popped from the stack to the program counter. Now here I will simply complement accumulator. Now here what will happen? The accumulator contents will become FF. Okay, and making accumulator contents as FF. Again, what will do? I will again move the contents of accumulator to the port 1. Now here what will happen? The status of port 1 will become FF. Okay. What does it mean? The status will be high. Okay. Now when I'm writing FF, what does it mean? All the lines will become 11111111. Okay. And here for port 1 equal to 00, all the lines becomes 0000. So here after certain delay, here again the port 1 all lines becomes FFF or all line becomes high. Now again I am calling a delay here. Okay. So here I will use the instruction a call delay. Here also I am giving the same label. Here also I am giving the same label because they are calling the same function. Okay. And after that, the simple instruction is sjump up. If we want to keep it in the loop, then here sjump up is governed and again up is provided to either to the complement accumulator here or you can shift it to the move a comma 00. Okay. Why? Because here when I am shifting it or giving this label back to the complement accumulator, here the status of FF becomes again 00. Again we are calling transferring the data to the port 1 and again calling delay. Okay. Now this it will become 00. Again it will become FF and so on. Okay. Or here you can write this label to this move a comma 00h so that accumulator contents will become 0 and again it will be transferred to the port 1. Then delay is called, again accumulator is complemented and so on. Okay. So it depends upon us. Okay. And the last will be end. Now after writing this, we need to label this delay or we need to specify this delay. Okay. So this delay is returned like this. First, we have provided the label. So we need to write this label And in this label, what we'll do, simply we will take some data into register R0. And the maximum data which we can store into the R0 will be 0FFH. That will be the maximum data which we can store in the R0. And after shifting FF to the R0, we will decrement R0. These NZ R0, and again we will write back. Okay. And this back is provided to the same location. So here what will happen? Here after providing FF to the R0, then next is R0 will get decremented by 1. If it is not 0, again it will get decremented by 1. If it is not 0, again it will get decremented by 1, and so on. And when the R0 becomes 0, we need to return back to the main program. Okay. So this will be the delay. So here what will happen? When we are writing it as a return, then it will return back to the main program. One more thing here, this end should not be written here. The end should be written after this delay. Okay. So everyone understood it? The use of call instruction. Okay. Am I audible? Now here in this program, we have shifted 00 and FF to the port 1. Okay, and here we are writing the delay. Now delay are the continuous lines which are required again and again in the main program. Okay, so these are called as subroutines, and these are written separately, and these subroutines are called by using call instruction. Now, if we want to increase the delay, so here what we can do, here in this program itself, we will take one more register, move R1, comma 0FFH, and we will start decrementing one register. After that, the second register, and so on. So here what we'll do, first we will decrement R1. When the R1 becomes 0, next is we will decrement R0. T Z R0, comma back 1. Okay. And this back 1 again we will write here. Now in this program, what will happen? First, R0 becomes FF, maximum value. R1 becomes FF. First, we will decrement R1. So when this counter becomes 0, 0, when this R1 becomes 0, 0, what will happen? Here, it will skip the loop and it will execute the next instruction, that is decrement R0. Okay, so it will decrement R0. And when R0 here becomes, here this R0 will become 0FE. And when it becomes 0FE, again it will return back to the labeled location, that is move R1, comma 0FFH. So here when this R0 becomes 0FE, here again it will be FF, or R1 will become FF. Okay. So this R1 will become FF, and again we need to decrement. Something is wrong here. Here we need to make R1. Here this is getting 0. Here we need to decrement R0. So R0 becomes here FE. Then it will return back to this program. Again R1 will become FF. Again it will become 0, 0. Unless and until it becomes 0, it will remain, or the program counter will remain here. When R1 becomes 0, again this R naught will become or will get decremented by 1, and the next value will be 0 FD, and so on. Okay. So here we can increment the delay. Now here when I am writing the delay, here we are not calculating the actual time duration required for delay. Okay. And this time duration is called or calculated by using the frequency of the microcontroller. Let's say the frequency of the microcontroller is 12 megahertz. That means for one T state, here the time required will be 1 divided by frequency. That is equal to 1 divided by 12 megahertz. The value will become something. Just we will calculate here. So 1 divided by 12 megahertz. So it is 0.0833. So it will be 0.0833 microseconds. That is multiplied by 10th power minus 6. Okay, so that will be the value for one T state. Now, the number of T states required for execution of these complete instruction is calculated. Then the next instruction will get calculated, and so on, so that the complete T states required for the execution will get calculated. Okay. For example, if suppose we have taken move R0, comma hash 0 FFH. Okay. So the instruction, it is 2-byte instructions, 2-byte instruction, and the instruction cycle required will be 4 plus 4, 8. So 8 T states are required for the execution of this instruction. Now the next is DJNZ R0, comma back, and this back is given to this labeled location. Okay. Now in this case, here it is 3-byte instructions and requires 12 T states for the execution of one instruction. Now how many times this it will get executed? For 255 times. Okay, so 255. Why 255? Because this R0 becomes 0. Okay, so it is 0 FF means it will be maximum 256, right? So it will be 255 times this instruction will get executed. So 255 multiplied by 12 T states. Okay. This instruction, and after that the last so this is also 3-byte instruction. So maximum 12 T states are required for this instruction. Okay. So the total T states required will be 8 plus 255 plus 12 plus 12 T states. Plus. Okay. So here it will be equal to 255 multiplied by 12 plus 8 plus 12. So something is wrong. 255 multiplied by 12 and say 3060 plus 12 3072 plus 8. So total 3080 will be the T states required for execution of this instruction. Okay. So total T states will be 3080. That will be the maximum T states. So now this 3080 will get multiplied by 0.833 microseconds. Okay. So it will be equal to multiplied by 0.833 2565 or 0.64. So 2566 microseconds multiplied by 10th power minus 6. So this will be the maximum time or delay which will get provided by in this delay instruction or the previous delay instruction when we are using only uh, these these three lines. Okay. So according to that, we are calling the delay. So to avoid this calculation, again, the microcontroller is having the facility of timer. So instead of providing the delay or software delay, we can use the timer here. Okay. So everyone understood here? Okay, now this part of calculation of delay, just neglect it for the call instruction or for this branch instructions. Only keep in mind there are call instructions which are used to call the subroutine, and when call instruction is getting executed, then the program is getting shifted from main program to the subroutine by storing the next address of the main program or next instruction address on the stack. When the subroutine is completely getting executed, it will return back to the main program by uh, copying the address from the stack on the program counter. So there are two call instructions. One is L call and one is A call. When we are calling L call instruction, then it is the range of this L call will be 64K, and if it is absolute call, the range will be of 2K. Okay, everyone got it? So I think